So Promising Young Woman made the best of list for a ton of people for 2020. I was supposed to see it at the end of December and then the screening got moved. So I didn't see it and it didn't make my best of list. Should it have? A young woman traumatized by a tragic event in her past seeks out vengeance against those who crossed her path. Carey Mulligan stars in this dark, dramatic comedy. She's Cassie, and we can see that she is dealing with something in her past that was hurtful and damaging. First off, Carey Mulligan does a phenomenal job. She is somewhat broken and reeling, but there is this determined strength that is very present and evident also. In the opening scene, there's this moment where she gives us a look, and it lets us as the audience know immediately what's up. And her look, it made me laugh because it was devilishly good. Now, I'm not sure her behavior is 100% healthy because when we meet her, she seems singularly focused on a task that feels a bit self-destructive. I'm totally behind the sentiment though. What she does is brilliant, and every time the moment comes for her reveal, the looks of shock are priceless. I really like her strength too. Even though she's vulnerable and hurting, she's not weak. She's determined. And she may be suffering from sorrow or even depression, but she's also making strides to be in control of her emotional state. And even though those around her don't understand it, she still has her bearings to move in an upward trajectory. In addition to Mulligan, we get a great performance from Bo Burnham. He is a bit shy and stammering, which sometimes felt a bit annoying, but for the most part, he came across as a genuine character. He's a little unpolished because he sometimes trips over his words, and that realness was refreshing. I also like their chemistry together. The whole time, I'm cautiously hopeful for their interactions. Wanting some happiness and relief from the hurt, and the energy that comes from them is refreshing and fun too. There's a very sweet and funny scene in a pharmacy where we really get to see some great character transformation. Now, this is shot beautifully. I love a lot of the symmetry that we get. And also the color palette that is chosen is soft and light. Even with Cassie's nail polish in muted rainbow colors. And it contrasts so well with some of the darker scenes where much harsher colors are used, even going to starker black and white palettes. There's one fun Easter egg that I saw. At one point, Cassie is reading a book. It's called Careful How You Go. And this was the first directorial effort of Emerald Fennell, who wrote and directed this movie. That story also resembles this one slightly. Now, the relationship aspects in this are a little unsettling. We get the sense that while Cassie hasn't figured out how to totally move past her grief and trauma, those around her, like her mom and dad, also struggle to relate to her, or even connect with her. Just about all of her interactions with people are standoff-ish. Not abrasive per se, but definitely not all hugs and kisses. This is an emotional trip of a movie too. We see calculated anger, devious cunning, genuine acceptance, joyous restoration, scorned betrayal, and melancholy hopefulness. Some of the plot directions are a little predictable, but there are other times where I believed I knew where something was headed and was genuinely hoping I'd be wrong because I could sense the outcome and I wasn't sure that I wanted to experience it. Now, I loved the pace of the storytelling. It didn't drag on, but at the same time, it didn't feel like we were rushing through the story. We get to watch the emotional journey of Cassie, and I think it's an important journey to observe. And my guess is that there are several points that can resonate in this with just about everybody. So I call this a dark dramatic comedy, and there are some genuinely funny moments. Some of the lines that caught me, they came out of the blue. Almost one of those blink and you miss them type of scenes. Sometimes there's small lines of dialogue or small actions of the characters. And then there's the whole dark part of the comedy, where it's pointed and biting, and still very funny, but more in that ha 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 type of way than a ha ha ha. Many of the supporting characters round out the story really well. They help to shape our impression of Cassie, and they also help to craft the emotional tone of the entire film. From the awkward pressuring of her parents to the encouraging and honest boss, even her interactions with people from her past. Two really powerful scenes include one with Molly Shannon and one with Alfred Molina. I love the growth that happens as a result of both of those interactions. I liked how the story progressed also. We go from kind of an emotionally stunted revenge story to one of hope and healing, and then to a determined truth. Each chapter that plays out just piles on that engaging drama. There are so many different areas to appreciate in this. Each of her interactions bring out something new and not only give an opportunity to show strength and growth from Cassie, but also help to endear her to us. One thing I was shocked about was the level of violence in the movie, or rather the lack of it. There's a lot left to our imagination because of what we don't see or hear. But there is one scene that is quite brutal, and it genuinely bummed me out. I didn't want that particular story arc to occur, even though it was almost inevitable for the story. and I'm a bit split on my feeling of the ending of the film. While it's not wholly shocking, I wanted a different outcome. There's still a sense of power with the ending, but I think some of it's diminished. So if I had seen this when I was supposed to before the end of the year, would it have made my best of list? Yeah, it would have. I'm not sure what it would have pushed out, but I had a lot of fun with this one. I was tense, nervous, smiling, squirming, chuckling, disgusted, engaged, and wrecked. Carey Mulligan gives a spectacular performance, but one that even though it could be over the top, it feels very grounded and real. She brings the character of Cassie to life in a way that will stick with you for a while. There's no sex, but there is sexual violence and descriptions of sexual violence. There's no nudity, a bunch of profanity, and some very brutal violence. I give Promising Young Woman 4.5 out of 5 couches. Do you have a favorite performance of Carey Mulligan? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for catching with me.